Hello and welcome to the OTB channel. I hope you're all staying well during the lockdown. Now, a few weeks ago, I looked at Makulu Lindo's edition, and looking at the views that video had, it was clearly popular. So there are many of you out there that like a Linux distro that looks like an operating system that you're more familiar with. Now, Makulu was themed to look like Windows. Today, I'm going to look at Peach OSI, which is a distro that's themed to look like OSX. So, let's get into it after the intro. Okay, welcome back. So, as I said during the introduction, many of you seem to like Makulu, and whether you like the Windows look and feel to Makulu or not, it did seem to be a really highly polished distro where the developer or developers had put an awful lot of work into the look and feel of the system. Well, whilst I was looking for different look-alike distros a few weeks ago, I also came across another one called Peach OSI Patriot operating system. And that does something similar to Makulu in that it attempts to look like something it's not. This time it attempts to look like Mac OS X. Now, I didn't want to do this review straight after Makulu because there were other videos that I wanted to do, but it's a fairly obscure distro. I'd never heard of it before, but I've given it a spin. And what I would say is these respins, to my mind, are worth it if they can provide something new, different and unique. I think Makulu did that in terms of its theming and its package selection and generally the overall look and feel. Does Peach OS do that? Well, here's a spoiler. I was less than impressed. But you'll see exactly what I mean when you see the review. So let's go to Peach OSI's webpage, which is peachosi.com. Right, so what's it all about? Well, let's go into the About page. And if I select Solutions, basically the developer says, yes, it's an Ubuntu derivative, but with the XFCE desktop. But both Ubuntu and Xubuntu take a minimalist view on what you get on their original ISO. And I might add, in the way that their desktop systems are implemented. Right, okay. But once you install Peach OSI, your system is complete and ready to go as is without having to install anything else unless you absolutely have to. Right? And that's what makes Peach OSI Patriot different, and different in a way that most users of the operating system appreciate. Right. So it's Xubuntu, but it comes fully loaded and it's themed in a certain way. Well, you can read all this yourself on the web page should you want to. Let's get into it now. Let's go straight to the operating system. Let's see what we think. Right, so I'm just booting Peach OSI in VirtualBox, and we're waiting for it to start, and here we are. Fireworks, apparently. Okay, it's based on Ubuntu, as I said before, so I'm assuming it will have, I was going to say the standard look and feel, but that actually looks like light DM. So let me just go into this and log in. I have already installed the guest editions on this, So I'm not surprised to see it come out full screen. And we have our wallpaper in front of us that I suppose matches Patriot. And this is what we get. It looks a little bit unusual to me. It's difficult to know exactly what's what. I'm presuming that might be a log out button there, and an application menu. Right, an application menu is what that would appear to be. In fact, it's the whisker menu because this is XFCE. So, okay. The theming looks pretty plain on this menu. We'll go through this in a second. And a My Computer button, which is simply... okay, it's just a button to take us to the Places menu. Right, and then we have this down below. What is this? Is this Plank or something similar? No, it would appear to just be the panel. Okay. Right, so it's the XFCE panel, and there's a huge amount on here already. What is this? Whoa, it's an additional menu, which looks very GNOME-like. I'm not entirely sure what this menu is. It looks a little bit like the JG menu, if that icon is anything to go by, but we'll have a look at that in a second. Okay, well, let's see if we can find, software sources. That's not a convenient place to have a logout button because I tend to go up there to hit the menu, so a little bit awkward as far as I'm concerned. I take it this is just the panel. Yeah, it's just a panel. I think I would shift that over to the right. But let's see if we can find our software sources and see if there's anything has actually been installed on this in addition. Please run this software with admin rights. Right, okay. Well, why didn't it prompt me for a password? I'm not entirely sure about that, so let's go down and see what we have down here. I see that we have Synaptic, and okay, that's prompting me for a password. And we'll wait for that to set itself up and have a look at the repository information. So, what have we got here? Right, so we've got the wine repo there. It's all Bionic, Ubuntu Bionic. I wonder if that's going to be updated. I presume it will be once Ubuntu releases the new long-term support release this month. But we've got Wine HQ Ubuntu, we've got the Skype repo, we've got a PPA for Grub customizer. Okay, and multi-system depot. Right, so Canonical is installed with the Bionic updates and repositories there. Yeah, and a range of PPAs here. I don't like to see too many PPAs. OpenShot developers, okay. Right, fine. So we can see that. Let's have a look at what we've actually got here. So let's have a look at our desktop settings to see what wallpaper is installed by default. And there's quite a bit, to be honest. Certainly the developer likes fireworks here by the look of it. Some quite nice colourful wallpaper though. Peach OSI Patriot. Right, I'm surprised that one didn't come installed as standard. More fireworks. Right. Okay. A graveyard. Okay. And more fireworks. Okay, so we've got a fair amount of wallpaper here, and you can make it look how you want. I'm not so sure that the default wallpaper that's being used on this is the best, but I suppose it sort of matches this Patriot theme that they've got. So this is XFCE with 2 XFCE panels, and what have we got here? So apart from the menu, Firefox, Mailspring, okay, Skype, Empathy, Deluge, Telegram, Calibra. Oh, that's the software updater. And we have the Snap Store, so it's obviously using Ubuntu Snaps. Add or remove software. Can we actually do this on here? Okay, so that's the standard software store. We have Discover. Why do we need quite so many software stores? I'm not entirely sure. So this is a KDE app really, but okay. I'm not so sure that it goes that well with this. We have Synaptic, which we've already looked at. Voco screens, so you can screencast your own video. Kazam, Clementine, GTK Pod. Well, I suppose if you're going to want the Apple look and feel, I think the developers probably assume that you've got Apple devices, so he's pre-installed all of that. Pulse Effects, Pulse Audio Equalizer, My Money, a personal finance manager, and a whole range of different applets here. Okay, so the bottom panel is laid out with a theme that makes it quite similar to Mac OS X, I suppose. To my mind, there's too much on it. I would get quite irritated seeing all of these little applets launching, but that's just me. You might like it a great deal. Let's just, oops, I'm doing it again. I'm going to that menu all the time and hitting the log out button. Let's just see what we've actually got here. So in accessories, is there anything that stands out there? KeyPass X, G shutdown, mousepad, multi-system. Easily create your live USB multi-boot. Okay, well that's nice to have there. Harage, global time, photos, Space FM file search. And of course you've got your standard terminal emulator, and I see Wine Tricks is already installed by default. In terms of development, you've got Bluefish editor. Bluefish is actually great. I don't do a huge amount with web pages, but when I ran my own business, I did do my own static web page many years ago, and Bluefish was very much the go-to editor in Linux at the time. Education, the standard LibreOffice Math. Playonlinux in the games category. I used that in, I think was it Makulu? I gave that a go, and it seemed to work relatively well. So for those who want a looky-likey operating system, I suppose that might be a useful utility. I am surprised, though, to see Blender installed by default. The GIMP installed by default, always good to see. Right, what else have we got here? Firefox installed as your browser. Deluge, Empathy, Mailspring, Rumina, Skype and Telegram. Okay. And Clementine, it's a fine music player. I often use it. Handbrake, OpenShot, Parole. Radio tray. I'm not exactly sure what radio tray is. Let's have a quick look and see what it brings up. And, oh, right, okay, it's already launched. Oh, right, so it's a way of listening to online radio. That's fine. Nearly hit the exit button again. VLC and Voco screen. Oh, that's the screencast. You've got all of the LibreOffice suite there, plus the Atril document viewer. Access prompt. What is the access prompt? Let's see. Nothing is launching. Okay. Unlock access to passwords and other secrets. Fine. File synchronization, manage network connections, and, oh, Adobe Flash Player. Do we really need Adobe Flash Player in this day and age? I suppose that's completely a case of preference. Customize the look and feel. AR and R, that's a great tool to have installed by default. Set the desktop background. The firewall, I'm presuming that's GU. Oh, no, it isn't. So rather than GUFW, which I expected to see, we've got a firewall configuration file. I've seen this program before, and I have to say I'm quite surprised when it's put in to a distro from the get-go, when we have UFW and GUFW these days, which is so much simpler to work with. Not to say it's not functional, but still, firewall configuration, an easy way to configure the firewall. Now that is GUFW. I'm a little confused about why you need two different types of firewall front end, but hey ho. Grub Customizer, Pingu Builder to build your own ISO, Samba. Let me just try launching software sources from here and see if it asks. No, it's not letting me in. Synaptic Package Manager, Software Install, System Profiler and Benchmark, and the Ubuntu Customization Kit. Customize your Ubuntu desktop CDs easily. Okay, that's interesting. And VirtualBox is already installed by default. And then a wine category, wine for Windows, run first to set up wine, Playonlinux URL handler, and wine tricks. Okay, so it's pretty much fully packed with software packages. I'm not quite sure why you need two firewall front ends, and it's a bit of a bad thing to have something like software sources in the menu which won't launch from the menu because you have to input your sudo password. What about over here? What have we got? Notifications, computer, presentation mode, and power management settings. Okay, so it's just a link to the XFCE 4 power manager. Clip it, the network, obviously the radio tray, and your volume icon. So that's Peach OSI Patriot operating system. From what I can see, it's pretty much a standard XFCE, but it's been themed in a certain way. As far as the package selection is concerned, okay, fine. But this, as well as this, doesn't make sense to me. Have one or the other. The theming by default of this menu, it doesn't seem to look right with the rest of the system. It gives me a feeling of inconsistency. That's not to say that you can't change things like that. They're fairly minor, but the default choices the developer has made, I hate that more than anything. The logout button over there. So it's an Ubuntu system. It looks Mac OSX-ish. If you want to try it, well, by all means do so. Let's go and have a chat. Right, so that was the Peach OSI Patriot operating system. What do I think? If I'm honest, it's a fail, as far as I'm concerned. It looks sort of like Mac OSX, but there's nothing there that you couldn't easily do yourself. It's clearly based on Xubuntu, and to my mind, if you like XFCE and you like Ubuntu, install Xubuntu and theme it as you want. The default software selection just seems a little bit confused to me. If I ask myself, who is this for? Who would need this particular selection of apps? My only guess is, well, it's what the developer uses, but there's not that many apps in there that I would particularly want to use. The two menus, I'm still not sure what that bottom menu is, whether or not it is JG menu or something else, the kind of GNOME style menu. I don't understand why you need that down in your bottom panel and the whisker menu at the top. Have one or the other and stick with it. The whisker menu itself, the default theming, I mean, I thought it was very plain. I wasn't very keen on it, but I suppose the developer was trying to get the colours of Mac OS X there. The logout shutdown button right on the far left. Why? I mean, that's where you would normally go to hit the menu. I can't tell you how many times I've hit that in the last day or two since I've had this installed. For me, that just doesn't work. I want that on the far right. And speaking of which, if you're going to do a Mac OS X lookalike, the buttons on the window bar, your maximize, etc., should be on the left for Mac OS X, and they're actually on the right. So that doesn't really work for me either. So in summary, I think respins are great if they really offer something that's special. And I think Makulu, which was the Windows looky-likey that I looked at a few weeks ago, that felt really polished and really consistent. To me, this didn't feel consistent. So would I install it? No way. That's just my opinion. I'm just some bloke here testing something in VirtualBox. But for me, there isn't a lot to recommend this one. And on that basis, I'm going to call an end to this quick review. Now, don't forget that I am on LBRY, and if you'd like to join us on the OldTechBloke Facebook group, please do. But for now, have a great weekend, everyone. I hope you're all still well, and I'll see you next week.